you make one small change every day, could be going from cow's milk to oat milk one day, and the next day could be going from chicken to chickpeas. You just go make one small change each day or each week even, and then over a period of time that adds up. Just don't eat with guilt. I think a lot of people eat with guilt and remorse and that, and eating should be like enjoyment, something that we enjoy doing and we're happy doing and nourishes us. So it is a life-changing thing, a transition. So, roll with it, roll with it. It's a journey. From there, I found this Gordon Ramsay scholarship competition. I was about 20 at the time, and he had a competition in the UK for chefs under the age of 25, and went up to Birmingham, and I had set my sights on winning it. Second place, third place was not an option. I was going to win it. And
hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Gay Gerard and I'm your host. Thank you so much for being here. Today I'm really excited. We have an incredibly talented chef here, Jamie Raftery. He's going to share his journey of why he turned to a plant-based diet and talk about his journey opening up one of the world's first culinary academies that focuses on raw vegan food. Jamie's also had an extraordinary career working some of the world's top culinary destinations and wellness retreats, and we're here to find out all about it. It is so great to have you here, Jamie. Thank you for being here. Excellent. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm so excited to have you here.
Pleasure. No, thanks for organizing it.
I would love to know more about you and how your career started. So I know that you started at 15 years old at one of the most famous restaurants called the French Laundry, and you were a pot washer from what I read. So can you tell us about that experience and how did that experience shape your passion and then your culinary career?
Yeah, oh, okay. It's going back a while. 15-year-old pot washer. Yeah, well, I left school early. I didn't settle into school well. I didn't enjoy I wasn't interested in most of the subjects that were being taught to me. I enjoyed a few of them, like the woodwork and the mechanical drawing and the home economics and these more practical things I enjoyed. And I played a lot of sport in school. But then the theory of learning a lot of stuff and sitting down, I couldn't concentrate. So I was a little bit mischievous in school and restless, as I'd say most teenagers are when they're doing stuff they don't enjoy. So I decided to leave school and become a chef. I had that. Well, at first it was a carpenter, but that carpentry career lasted about a month. I didn't see myself doing that forever. And what attracted me to cooking was taking a raw ingredient, a raw product, whether it's a vegetable or whatever it is, and using a skill or a craft and applying creativity to it and then gifting it to somebody. And I really enjoyed that whole kind of aspect of creativity and craft. So that's what attracted me to cooking. And to get into college, I left school early, so I had no official leaving certificate. So I had to get myself some experience. So that's how I started. That's why I started pot washing and a busy restaurant in Galway City at 15 years old, moved out of home and lived in an apartment and washing pots and pans. So it wasn't the most glamorous of beginnings, but in a way that was a good beginning because being at the real bottom, it kind of makes you want to, fight to the top, So I worked hard, got myself into culinary college, and then I made sure I asked my career guidance teacher in college to place me somewhere good. I didn't want to just go to a standard hotel doing chips and burgers and usual kind of like general stuff. So I asked him to send me somewhere good. He sent me to a very good Malaysian chef way out on the west coast of Ireland who worked on cruise ships. He worked on the QE2, the Queen Mary, traveled all over the world. He's Malaysian. And he was doing a very interesting cuisine of Asian and European. And this was in the turn of the century, like 23 years ago, when it was in Ireland. That was very rare. It was one of the best restaurants in the West in Ireland. So Chef G was his name. He became my mentor. I was very, very lucky at the age of 17 to have found such a good mentor.
That's amazing.
If without him, I don't know where I'd be now. Because at 17, we're so, at that age, we're so young. We have some drive and determination and goals, but I think we really need mentors as well to allow us to fulfill our potential and set us on our way.
Yeah, definitely.
So this Chef G is still my friend to this day. He's still a very good friend of mine to this day, like 23 years later. So he became a mentor and he trained me, and I got inspired by food so much at that age, and I actually went out to Malaysia with him and another Malaysian sous chef at 18. And being an 18-year-old young commie chef traveling around Ipoh and the Cameron Highlands and Kuala Lumpur, and just seeing and smelling and tasting these exotic foods, like wow, totally inspired. So I got this ignited this passion and desire and for food and for learning and for traveling and everything. So my first job, anyways, to cut a long story short, I went out to the French Alps at 18 and I ran a ski chalet out there. And the more I traveled and the more cultures I experienced and the more foods I tried, it just kept inspiring me to. I was falling in love with my craft. I was falling in love with my craft. I would say I wouldn't call it a career. That sounds very corporate. So falling in love with my craft. So I keep traveling, meeting new people, and exploring new cultures. And then from there, from the French Alps, I went to UK. I got offered a job in the UK to be a part of a team to win a Michelin star. So I had to look up. I didn't. There's no Google back then, but I didn't know what a Michelin star was. Growing up in Ireland, Michelin was unheard of, and Ireland is very humble cuisine. It's not very high level Michelin star fancy food. It's changing a little bit now. There's a lot of Michelin star restaurants. But the more I researched Michelin stars and I heard about Gordon Ramsay back then and um, all these Michelin star chefs, and I saw their style of food, and I was completely inspired by it in the skill and the craft and the refinement and the all that I was just so inspired by. So I ended up working with chefs like Michael Caines and Gordon Ramsay on my days off. I'd go and like just do free work experience in their
That's
kitchens,
amazing.
just to learn, just to be a fly on the wall. I was like a sponge. I was just so excited to learn. And I'd work 5 days in my job and down in Devon, and then I'd go into Michael Caines in Exeter, and I'd just walk into the kitchen and I come in and like work my days off for free. And that was a way of just like learning and getting experience, but also building a network, like getting to know chefs
Yeah.
and people who are in a similar mindset as me of learning and cooking and just like, completely being immersed in hospitality.
Yeah.
And then from there, I found this Gordon Ramsay scholarship competition. I was about 20 at the time, and he had a competition in the UK for chefs under the age of 25 that you could enter it, and it was all mystery baskets. So you go to the semi-final and you're given a mystery basket. You cook 3 courses in, I think it was 3 hours, and then you're assessed by Gordon and all his head chefs, and they give you feedback and all that. And I did that for 5 years, and every year I lost it, and I lost it quite badly, cutting myself and making silly mistakes. But I got great feedback from Gordon and all the chefs, and they tell you, they were there to mentor you. They were mentors. They're not there to tell you. It's not like kitchen nightmares where they're shouting and roaring at you
Yeah.
and all that. They're there to encourage junior chefs to get on in their career and to learn. So every year I went back to my job knowing where all my weak points were. And I believe the more we work at our weak points, the better overall we get at our job, at our sport or craft or whatever it is. So I go back to my job really hungry to do better the next year, to brush up on my butchery skills or my bakery skills or whatever it was. And I went back when I was 24. I knew it was my last year, the Ramsey Scholarship. So I was, 4 or 5 years training for this, and went up to Birmingham, and I had set my sights on winning it. Second place, third place was not an option. I was going to win it. And yeah, it was a mystery basket. We were given a mystery basket of ingredients. We had 30 minutes to plan our dish, plan our menu. And then we went on live stage in the Birmingham NEC in front of so many people, cameras and like hundreds of people there. I didn't tell anybody I was doing it that year. I think I made that mistake the previous years, and I had loads of friends and family there and everything, and that
Right.
distracted me.
Right.
So this year, I didn't tell anybody. I had my head chef come to look at me, and that was it. And other than that, nobody there. So there's no distractions. And I went there, and it was one of the most incredible 3 hours cooking in my life. It was just so intense. I knew I had the winning dish in my head. I knew I had it.
What was it? I'm
Um, I,
curious to know.
it was pigeon. This was back in the days. Like I only became. We get onto that, but I left all the animal cooking out of my I changed direction about 8 years ago, but
Right.
this was about 15 years ago. So this is when I was cooking, and that was the foundation of my cooking craft. Is I learned to cook everything. Um, so yeah, it was we were given it was wood pigeon. I did it with celeriac puree and I think figs. It's going back a while now. I haven't thought about it in a while. I used to know that, but it was wood pigeon, and I remember this is when sous vide cooking was just coming in. It was like kitchens didn't have sous vide back then, but I did a makeshift sous vide machine, and I had a like a backpack bag, which I had to tie, cook the wood pigeon sous vide because wood pigeon is it can overcook and it
Right.
dries out instantly. So I cooked it sous vide in some like Madeira and herbs and everything, and just really, really slow poached it and then glazed it. And then I made a nice sauce out of all the rest of the animal and everything, and did it. Used all the vegetables. I think it was celeriac. I slipped my memory what else is on it now. It's a long time. But then the dessert was pâté breton. It was a French, like a shortbread that's baked and then it raises up. And then there was a creme patisserie in it with roasted figs. And the starter was pumpkin soup with wild mushrooms. A simple thing,
Oh,
but
wow.
they test you on how you work, how you organize yourself, how much flavor you get into the dishes, your presentation, and everything. So I knew I had the winning dish, anyways, and you just can't make a single mistake. If you make one mistake in the 3 hours, that puts you behind and you can lose it. So it was intense in them 4 or 5 years of training and commitment and dedication to not just winning it, but the journey to get there was a big part of it as well, because that's made me like progress in the kitchen I was working in, and I worked every section in the kitchen and so on. So yeah, at the end of the competition, then Gordon was calling out all the winners, and he called out third place, and he called out second place, and he hadn't called me out yet. So I'm looking around thinking, okay, this could be it. He called out my name as the winner, and yeah, it was an incredible experience just being the winner of that competition. And then I was a Gordon Ramsay scholar for a year, so I went out and trained in his restaurants in New York and Paris and London, and won a lot of other prizes from him. But the main thing was just being mentored by Gordon and his team throughout the year in all his restaurants.
That's absolutely extraordinary. I mean,
Um,
it takes an enormous amount of dedication and discipline. Where do you think that determination comes from?
a couple of things comes to mind. One, I played a lot of sport when I was younger. I grew up, and I think it's so good for kids to be involved in sport, whatever sport it is. And team sports is great as well. So from when I was 8 until 18 or 19, like my whole life revolved around sports. Gaelic football, similar to Aussie rules over there,
Right.
really tough game, and soccer. We call soccer because football to us is Irish football, and we've hurling as well. So then three team sports I played a lot of. And I think in sport, you learn to lose and you come back and you get knocked down. And then with all your teammates, you're like, okay, you all build each other up and you encourage each other, and then you come back and you play for your team and you play for your town, and if you're playing for your county, which I did, you play for your county as well. So I think getting that drive and that determination to win, I think comes from maybe my sporting background and that competitive mentality I had to not lose, but to be okay and to learn from it and then come back and try to win.
Yeah.
So I think it comes from there, but also I was kind of more or less kicked out of school as well, which I felt a bit upset about. So I think that gave me an extra bit of determination and motivation and drive to actually make something of my life, and to maybe show them teachers and people in school who thought I was useless and no good at school and that, to show them, hey, hang on, like, I do have potential, when I have the right mentors and doing something I enjoy. So I
That's
think a
amazing.
combination of them gave me that extra drive, which, that drive is good to have, but there's limits to that competitive drive as well, which how I got onto plant-based cooking. I hit a burnout when I was about 32,
Right.
because just that competitive nature I had, there was no limits to it.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know where the off switch was.
Yeah.
So
So tell us a little
that's
bit
how I got
more.
into the whole plant-based.
Yeah, I'm definitely keen to get into that. So I want to know what's your favorite part about being a chef? Like when you were first at that restaurant where they were going for the Michelin star and you had to sort of figure out what that was. What was your favorite part about being a chef, the whole process? Because you've got crafting the recipe and dealing with the ingredients directly and sort of really using your creativity in that regard, or there's the plating area. Is it cooking? Is it creating the recipe? Or is it actually plating? Like, there's so many different areas of being a chef. What was
There
your
is
favorite?
so many areas. I think the one that resonates the most is connecting with people, and that would be mainly, well, the people I work with as well, the creative aspect of that and the teamwork, but also the people we're cooking for. Whether it's cooking for a group of people who are celebrating a birthday or a wedding or just a romantic night out or just a friend's night out. I think that's one of my favorite aspects of it, and that as the chef, we're facilitating that and we're creating memories.
Mm.
We're creating something that's just that point in time that brings that group of people together for that meal or that occasion. And then I'm one of the people who's facilitating that and creating, getting that raw food and preparing it and using a skill to craft it and then to share it with somebody. So I think it's that aspect of sharing and connecting with people and creating memories. I think that's all in all one of my favorite parts of it,
That's
in that it's
amazing.
life, creating your we're working with something. I'm working with something that comes from nature, it comes from the ground, comes from the earth, and then I'm using a skill and a craft and my knowledge and creativity to share something with somebody. And it is sharing. Cooking is sharing. You're sharing something with somebody. I know we have to pay for food and charge it and all that and do all that business aspect, but when you get behind all that, it's you're sharing your craft, you're sharing food and flavors with a group of people that has can have a really good positive impact in their lives. In that point of time, it brings that bit of happiness to people. And food is nourishment as well. We eat food to nourish ourselves, to feel good and to celebrate. So I think that's kind of the core aspect of it that I really enjoy, and that's something that I know I'll enjoy for the rest of my life and the rest of my career as well.
That's incredible. So I'm curious, what was Gordon Ramsay like? Was he as tough as
Gordon
everybody
is an
makes
incredible
out, or?
mentor. Incre- he's an incredible mentor, incredible chef. He's very highly driven. His standards are really high. He's built a huge empire all around the world,
Certainly has.
and to work with him was I'm so grateful to have had that experience, to have had that chance back then. And the doors that have opened has been incredible. And just to work in all his kitchens and see the level of professionalism,
Mm.
the level of skill and refinement, and just to experience that and to learn it and to take some of them skills and techniques on board my own style. I think it was incredible. Yeah, Gordon, a huge amount of respect from it. I was actually watching an interview on him last night. Someone did
Right.
a life story interview on him. I just scanned through it and that, but it's yeah, what he's done is phenomenal. And he built it all up himself. So yeah, looking back, when I worked with him, it was really his early part of the career. He had just, I think, 3 or 4 restaurants in London, which I worked in all of them for free. I just asked him, like, could I?
That's
I just went in and worked with Angela Harnett, Mark Askew, Marcus Waring, Mark Sargent. Like, these were all Gordon's original chefs in his original team.
oh,
And
that's
then
amazing.
Gordon then like built them up through the kitchen, and then he got them a executive chef job in like the Connaught Hotel and Claridge's Hotel and Petrus and all these places. So that was the very early days of Gordon's first team that expanded out to have all their own restaurants, and I worked in every single one of them
That's
as
incredible.
a fly on the wall, just as free work experience. I just go and work
Yeah.
for free. I didn't work to learn, not to earn, was my motto back then. Knowledge, getting that knowledge and making them connections was more valuable than anything at the time. As long as I had enough money to pay my bills and a bit of a flight ticket here and there, and I was content with that.
Yeah. Having that first-hand experience and just, as you say, being a fly on the wall, that is just invaluable. That sets you up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Very grateful
incredible.
for that.
And where did the plant-based cuisine come in? So when did you start thinking, okay, maybe I might transition to a plant-based diet? So what was your influence back then? Was it a documentary you saw? Was it health challenges that you faced? Like, what led you to the plant-based diet?
Yeah, a combination of them both. So I left. I had a burnout when I was about 32. I hit a point
Right.
where, okay, I got to change change my career. Um, journey, changed my career path and personal path as well.
Mhm.
So I took a bit of a career break. I went out to Chiang Mai, northern Thailand, to do Muay Thai and to just relax, take a breather from work and all my responsibilities. And like I was running in a luxury hotel on the Cotswolds, and we were in the top 10% in the UK of accolades and so on. So
Wow.
on paper, we were doing really good. I'd built up a very strong team and we were winning lots of awards and all that on paper was good, but mentally and physically, I was burning out. All the 100-hour weeks were taking their toll on me.
Mm.
So I finished that job, took a career break, and out that time in Chiang Mai, then when I started to do Muay Thai and started to do yoga and a little bit of meditation, started to feel healthier myself. And then around that time, I remember I went to a market in Chiang Mai, beautiful night market where all the farmers and growers come in from the valleys and they bring in all their produce. And this is where a lot of the hotels and restaurants and street food traders then go to buy their food. And
Beautiful.
it was beautiful. Like you see all the family, like there'd be a watermelon truck and a pineapple truck and
Oh,
a
I
one
love it.
truck just full of garlic. And they're all there like peeling their produce and getting it all ready to sell. And then I came around to the meat station and it absolutely stank of
Yes.
guys behind there looked like death. They're evil. Like I can still see their eyes now. And then there was rats running around the meat, basically.
Oh, that's terrible.
So so it went from like a beautiful experience of this market to like, oh, that's disgusting. So then I thought, okay, while I'm in Thailand, I was out there for 6 weeks at the time. So I thought, okay, while I'm here for this 6 weeks, no meat, no chicken in my pad thai, please.
I don't
So
blame
I
you at
just
all. Yeah.
that just to not get food poisoning. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm out here. I'm on a food tour of Thailand as well. I like anytime I travel, I explore and I try new restaurants and I'm getting inspiration for my own development.
Mhm.
So I made that decision while I was out there, no meat. I think I still had eggs while I was there, but no meat. And then I started to think, okay, well, like I knew the vegetarian and vegan options back in England were poor because I could see it was only risottos. So I thought, okay, well, I'm here. I'll start to research more vegetarian and more vegan recipes so that when I go back to England, I've got more repertoire, more recipes to put on menus wherever I'm working because I knew there was a demand for that there. So yeah, around that 6 week period, I started to feel fitter, healthier, cleaner, fresher than I've ever been in my life.
And just
Combination
from
of
just from
like
cutting out the meat,
just from cutting out the meat and doing the Muay Thai training
right?
and doing the
The
yoga
yoga.
and learning about meditation. And I wasn't drinking at the time. Like coming from Ireland, like we drinking is part of our our growing up as well. You know, we consume a lot of alcohol. Over time, then it kind of like it drains you. So I stopped drinking alcohol then as well. And then a combination of all them factors, then I started to feel fantastic. So then when I came back to England, I didn't stop eating meat and fish straight away because it was like a big part of my career and my cooking and everything. Like I couldn't just do it overnight, but it became gradual. It became gradual. I did meat free Monday.
Okay.
And then I just consciously started to eat less. And as I did consciously start to eat less animal products, I started to feel more creative, healthier, fresher, lighter. So I carried that on. And I think it was, oh, and then I went on another trip out to Copenhagen. I worked at Geranium Restaurant. It's now 3 Michelin star. It was 2 Michelin star at the time. And Rasmus Kofoed, he was Bocuse d'Or champion, probably one of the best chefs on the planet, and he
Wow.
was vegetarian. And
Wow.
I'm thinking, okay, this is a cool. He's a vegetarian chef who rides to work on a skateboard. He's a Bocuse d'Or winner. He's a 2 to 3 Michelin star chef. So I was thinking, hang on, this is cool, like and like so for him it was health as well, health and environment. Like in Denmark, they have a great culture of biodynamic growing and organic ingredients and foraging and all that. Rasmus and Geranium has taken all meat off his menu. They used to only have game meat, like wild ducks and stuff like that on their menu, but they've taken that off now, and I think they only do a little bit of fish. At least it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, so I think so with the combination of seeing such a good chef being vegetarian, that just started to kind of keep me on the path to think I knew I was on the right path. Instinctively, I knew I was on the right path, but then it's difficult when you work in the environment of cooking all these things and all my friends are and everything. it took a while for me to just not care what anybody else thought
Right.
about what I was cooking and what I was eating. When I started to become more aware and conscious of what I was putting inside my body and where it
Mm.
comes from,
Right.
and when you start to learn about the dairy industry and the mass produced meat industry, when you start to see it and know what goes on, and then like I know I made the conscious decision then of like not consuming it. But also professionally, when you say no to cooking one thing, it opens up the door to so many other things. So for me, like when I had that time out in Thailand, I would hit a point in my career where I was a little bit bored of cooking the fancy fine dining Michelin star food for the
Mm.
1% of the population who can actually afford it.
Do you remember
So
one
I
of the
was able.
best dishes in Thailand? Do you remember one of your favorite vegan dishes?
There was a lot. There was a market in Pai where I went, and it was like a 1 mile long market that goes, and there was so many things there. There was like a lot of different dishes that were vegetarian and vegan based, like Kanum Kruk, these little Thai coconut dumplings, and
Oh, wow,
there
they
was
sound
so
good.
many like in that part of Thailand and around Chiang Rai and Chiang Mai, and that there's so many good vegetables and good grains and good, lovely, tasty food up there. So I don't think it was any one dish, but it was a combination
Okay.
of all these different dishes that started making me think, hang on, like, you know, you say no to all these animal products, but that opens up a door to so many other possibilities. So for me at that point in my career, it was like starting all over again. I was like a kid in a sweet shop.
Yeah,
I
you feel
felt like
excited.
so excited to like explore all these other ingredients that I hadn't known about. And I'm still to this day, 25 years cooking, and I'm still discovering new ingredients and new to cook with all the time. I think a lot of classical chefs think if you take all the animal products and eggs and dairy and cream and meat and fish and everything, if you take that out of the equation, that it's limiting.
Yes.
But I don't think so. I think it opens up so many more possibilities.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you wholeheartedly. So, what other impact, like what other benefits did you experience when you started to, take these animal products out? You said that you sort of had more energy. Was there any other mental benefits? Like you mentioned that your creativity was improved as well. Was there anything else that you noticed?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of several different things. I think physically, yeah, I started to feel better because I think I did it in a healthy way as well. Like I think some people might go vegan or plant-based now, and there is a lot of processed food. There's a lot of
Yes.
highly processed vegan plant-based food now. So there was none of that back then. So I was eating a lot healthier then. I became a lot more conscious of what I was eating. Whereas before it was very much like I'd eat at midnight because I'd been working all day and I had a very bad diet and a bad lifestyle because of my busy job. But when I started going more plant-based and vegan, I just became more conscious of what I was eating and the effect it had on me. And I started to make better decisions on what I was eating and cutting out sugar and just cutting out alcohol and incorporating a lot more variety of different plant-based foods like teff and quinoa and millet and
Mm,
buckwheat. And like as I was learning about an ingredient, I'd be eating it myself.
that's so
I'd be
great.
eating the product, and then because I wouldn't preach, I would not that I preach, I wouldn't advise anyone to eat a certain way if I didn't believe that it was the right way to do it. And
Mm,
so I was kind of like practicing all this cuisine on myself. And I went from being a heavy drinker and a smoker for 15 years to running marathons.
that's
My marathon
incredible.
time now is 4 hours, 10 minutes. And I did that by signing up to the marathon 3 weeks before because I got a free ticket.
Right.
So I think, I do 100% believe that a whole food plant-based diet is the best for the human body. Now, I'd be careful about who I say that to and when I say it to,
Right.
because it always sparks debate and arguments. And, well, what about a little bit of fish? And what about a little bit of this? And ultimately, there's no one diet that suits everybody. Like,
Yes.
it depends where we are, what time of year it is, what time in our lives it is. And there's so many variables. But overall, I think predominantly whole food plant-based diet is the best
Hmm.
um,
And
with the variety.
I agree. Were you vegan when you did the marathon?
Yeah, I was eating 100% plant-based diet. I have been now for 7 to 8 years. I don't have an exact date. That's why it's
Yeah.
always kind of 7 or 8, and I know it was 8 or 9 years ago, and I went to Chiang Mai and Denmark that time. And then it was about a year or two after when I just went 100%. I was like 90% plant-based for a while, and then 95, because it took
Slow
a while for the
progression.
eggs to go and all that, because I was, what was I? I was 32 years old. I was 32 years eating food and cooking food that was
Right.
generally all based around animals. And so to transition from that, it took a little while. And it took education on my side as well to learn about alternatives to incorporate when I put one food group out, what to incorporate in. So yeah, I was on that was when I was doing a marathon and CrossFit. I did CrossFit for about 4 years. I came 70th in Europe in the
Oh,
CrossFit
brilliant.
scaled competition.
How did you diet?
Um,
Like, how were you fueling yourself for all of that exercise?
mm,
Was there anything specific that you were having, like as an added, like protein drinks, or what were you doing in terms of
No,
nutrition for
I
that?
I don't believe in protein drinks and all these fads or like there's so many of them. I'd have a banana before I go to my 6 a.m. CrossFit class. I'd have a
Love it.
banana and a glass of water and that's
Yep.
it. And then after I'd come home and I'd have this such a good appetite. And
Yep.
I think hunger is the best sauce. I love that. Like hunger is the best sauce. And I think in Western world, we don't know what hunger is. There's
Mm,
food everywhere. And like we see an advertisement of food that looks nice, so we go and we're like, oh, that looks nice, I'll eat it. But we're not actually hungry. We
mm,
overeat. But that hunger, when you come back from a CrossFit class, and I'd eat maybe like half an hour after class, I'd have a huge big bowl of mainly oats and fruit and berries and nut butters, or some days I'd have like good pancakes made with buckwheat flour and chickpea flour and stuff like that. So really good complex carbohydrates filled with like and loads of fruit and different things like that, a variety of stuff. And then lunch, like yeah, generally lots of curries and like I batch cook lots of stuff, loads of stuff like quinoa and buckwheat and millets and teff and all these like really good plant-based proteins that
mm.
also have complex carbohydrates and fats and minerals, and it's a complete food. So I filled up
Fantastic.
on lots of that. Sometimes I'd eat pizza with no cheese. I wasn't 100% perfect. you know, I, yeah, I wasn't like a strict militant weighing my food either. I've never been on a diet. I never will go on a
That's
diet.
wonderful.
And I never feel restricted. Like, I never feel restricted. Like, I eat when I'm hungry. If
Great.
I want to eat a bar of chocolate or a pizza, like, I have pizza now with no cheese, and that's
Yeah.
fine. I'm 100% happy with it. I don't find
Yes.
it limiting at all. If I
Yeah.
have chocolate, I have like a 70, 80, 85% dark chocolate bar with no milk powder in it. It's just a good quality, and I eat it and I enjoy it. I'm
That's
not looking
good.
at how many calories are on it or worrying, oh, I have to go to the gym tomorrow. I eat it, but I know I can't eat it every day. If I'm eating pizza every evening and chocolate every day, then it's kind of like it's not that I'm eating that every day, but it's about what am I not eating? I'm not eating vegetables and grains and pulses and all that. Like I'm filling
Yes.
myself up on a pizza, which is okay now and then, but can't fill up on that every day.
Do you think that period of time when you're in Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai and you started to do the meditation and the yoga, do you think that improved your ability to make conscious choices for food um, in a more
Yeah.
positive way?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's good to get out of your environment. I think we're conditioned by our environment and
Mm,
advertising and the people we hang around with. So it's good to get out of that and
mm,
just connect and go inwards and connect with ourselves and really tune into what our body needs and what we want and what I want to do for yourself.
mm.
And then at that yoga retreat, I went to a yoga retreat. I'd never done yoga in my life. I went out to do
Oh,
Muay Thai. Yoga to
right.
me was like something that's for, you know, I don't know. I won't say the connotation I thought it had. I don't want to offend anyone, but I was never attracted to yoga. I was more about
Right.
CrossFit and
Right.
Muay Thai and all that. But then I started to do yoga, and I think I probably got one of the most valuable things I ever got from it. In the Dhamma talks, it was about competitiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And at that yoga, I only went to a yoga retreat because I couldn't walk after all the fighting and kicking and boxing I was doing and how I was getting beaten up at Muay Thai.
Right.
So that's why I did the yoga retreat. And then every evening, the teacher did a talk about it could be competitiveness or compassion or mindfulness or something. But one evening she was talking about competitiveness. And that's when I realized, like, who am I? What am I competing for? Why am I trying to win awards? And why am I trying to win Michelin stars and accolades? And why am I burning myself out to win a Michelin star? Like, for who? For what? So it was kind of like an awakening at that time to say, hang on, like I don't need to prove to anybody that I'm good at what I do. I know myself, I'm good at my craft, I'm good at my skill. I know that. I don't need to I don't need to win an award to prove that I am. So that for me was liberating. And when I came back
Absolutely.
from Thailand, that's when I came back from Thailand about that 8 or 9 years ago. Then I was like, okay, I just like left all that competitiveness and over like that drive for winning awards. I left that, started to leave that behind me and cook healthy food, cook food that made people feel good
That's amazing.
rather than food that's going to win me an award and put a star on me and have my name under it and be like, yeah, because I know that doesn't bring contentment, that doesn't bring happiness, that doesn't bring
Yeah.
fulfillment.
So it
What
sounds like you
brings
left
me more,
the ego on the table, and you're just conscious and mindful of your
yeah,
purpose sounds like it completely changed.
yeah, completely changed and so much more fulfilling.
That's
For me,
incredible.
cooking for people who are going through chemotherapy or who are going
Wow.
through eating disorders and just giving them little, like, good food that's nourishing them, but also then giving them some little nuggets of empowerment with food to make better decisions or to, because everyone has a relationship with food. Everyone has a certain way of thinking about food and their beliefs on food. Many of them are wrong. Many people are wrong, have wrong beliefs.
Mm.
Um, not saying I'm 100% right, but a lot of people do have wrong beliefs conditioned by advertising and marketing and media
And
and everything.
also cultural as well. We're emotionally
Mhm.
conditioned growing up that we have really zero control over. It's our environment that
Yeah,
we're brought up in. And that can be
yeah,
emotional anchors, and that holds us back there, and there's a lot of
yeah,
could be shame or guilt if you're invited over to a
yeah,
friend's or a family
yeah,
member's house and they're all eating, whatever it may be, bolognese or something that's a real family favorite. How do you say no to that
yeah,
and not offend anybody? So
yeah.
it's
I know
you're
offend anyone.
100%
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, empowering people with some little things that they can take with them to then improve their relationship with food. For me, that's more fulfilling than anything. So cooking on these health retreats I cook on and teaching at the cookery courses I do and any like when I think about 8 years ago, my instead of winning awards, my what would you say motto or my intention was educate, inspire, and empower. So
I love
educate
that.
people with healthier food, inspire them with it as well, because we all need a bit of inspiration. People are inspired that it tastes good, it looks good, it makes you feel good. Then they're more excited to carry on that healthy eating regime. And then empowerment. I think we have to empower people, empower my students, empower my chefs who I train, empower them with the knowledge and the motivation to carry that on. So that educate, inspire, empower, that just came to mind like about 8 years ago. And that's kind of at the core of everything I do, of all the different projects I take on.
That's amazing. So tell us, when you sort of first came back from Thailand, you just went in this entirely new direction. What steps did you take to sort of start slowly producing more plant-based food? And, if you're working for other people at
Yeah.
different restaurants, how did you make the necessary changes to sort of to see a real shift?
Yeah. So it was a journey discovery for me as well. So I set up my own development kitchen at home and I started like researching recipes myself and testing them myself and photographing them. And Instagram was in its very early days back then. So I was posting a few things and putting out there what I was doing. And then I just started to ask yoga teachers, could I collaborate with them? Do you want to collaborate? Well,
Well,
should
that's
we
a
do a
great
pop-up
idea.
together?
Yeah.
And I remember my first pop-up was a raw vegan 5-course menu, and I think three people came to it, but then one of them people told me about macrobiotics. He's like, "Have you heard of macrobiotics?" And I hadn't. So then I started researching macrobiotics, and I was like, "Wow, this is incredible! How come I never heard about this?" And then a year later, I'm out in China teaching a culinary team how to cook macrobiotic food.
I'm just curious, when you do craft new recipes and dishes or meals, for example, do you go into that approach? Do you favor the flavor, or are you more inclined to prioritize the nutritional component? What's more important to you?
I think most important is it's a combination of balancing them all. And I think nutrition comes to the forefront, and then there's flavor and presentation.
Okay.
Now, with Michelin star cooking and fine dining cooking, it's aesthetics and flavor. It's how it looks and how it tastes.
Mhm.
The plate of food should look beautiful and look refined, and it should taste good.
Right.
And that's kind of the principles of fine dining food. And I put nutrition to the forefront then with my holistic approach.
Lovely.
Nutrition should be the forefront, like nutrition first and foremost. And when an ingredient is fresh and it's local and it's seasonal and you've treated it with respect and you've seasoned it with some spices or salt, it's going to taste good.
I
It's going to
agree.
taste good. Like it, and then when you have good ingredients that you cook well and cook mindfully, um and you plate it mindfully, and that you can make it look good.
Yeah.
Looking good is like, I don't never plan how I'm going to plate a dish. Like, when I come to plate it up, I just like do it simple. Just plate it simple. Like sometimes when you just put food on a plate simply and with care and mindfully, it looks good. It looks fine. Like, so much chefs put too much emphasis on styling it out, especially now with Instagram, all these fancy plates, and it can be style over substance. It might look beautiful, but then you eat it and it's like, well, where's the flavor and where's the nutrition?
Absolutely. What are three practical steps for the listeners that they can ensure the food actually aligns with their health goals and also tastes great?
Three steps. I think one is you need to create a place in your kitchen that's really enjoyable to cook in. And I think that's one of the foundation. Um, Clean the kitchen, deep clean it, get all the clutter out of there,
Mm,
get all the little ornaments and trinkets, and get all these obstacles out of the way, and create an environment that's really enjoyable to cook. Like clear workspace, clear cupboards, take out the spices that are 3 or 4 or 5 years old and haven't been used for a while, and just all these sauces in the back of the fridge that have been open for 2 months. Like every kitchen has them. I work as a private chef. I know what people's kitchens are like. Then and then schedule the time to cook as well. There's a lot of distractions in life. We all have distractions, and sometimes we create extra distractions. But there's 24 hours in a day, and I think we have to prioritize cooking simply. Like, we can come up with all sorts of excuses that we don't have time, or we don't have
yeah.
energy, or too busy with this, or there's every excuse in the book. So schedule time and set that intention. And it might be that you have to go to your Google Calendar and just schedule, okay, on Wednesday between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. I can cook, I can batch cook.
Mm,
And then plan around that, plan what recipes you're going to do, and don't try to do too much. Just take 2 or 3 recipes that you already know you're comfortable with, incorporate maybe one new recipe a week, I think is good, or one new ingredient. Add one new ingredient to your shopping list that you wouldn't normally have on there, and use that as an opportunity to explore. A new ingredient is a new story. It's a new thing. Like, and now you can just go on Google and it can tell you everything about that ingredient, how to cook it, where it comes from. So there's no excuses. Buy teff, buy millet, buy amaranth, whatever it is. Buy a new ingredient and then learn how to cook it. But yeah, schedule that couple of hour window, plan what recipes you're going to do, plan your shopping list, and just consciously then go into that, look forward to that like 2 hour window as like, okay, I'm going cooking. And just it's about setting the intention as well, and like building yourself up to that 2 hour window to um to have a good, enjoyable 2 hour cooking. I don't recommend too many distractions in the kitchen. If you want a little bit of classical music or a little bit of light background music is okay. But personally, I enjoy silence when I'm cooking as well. I think mindful cooking is a beautiful flow state to get into.
I agree.
And you see a lot of YouTube videos now when they're peeling the vegetables. You can hear the peeling. I think it's called, is it Asmer or Amzer? Or
I'm
I
not
can
sure,
never
but I know
pronounce the
exactly what
word.
you're talking about. Yeah, it's a meditation. It's beautiful. It just
Yeah.
allows your creativity and the art form in itself to shine in its
Mm.
purest form.
Yeah, and you see all these videos on YouTube, they get a lot of watches because it's very relaxing to look at it, to look at somebody peeling a carrot and just hear it. But imagine when you're doing that yourself.
Hmm.
And when you're peeling the carrot yourself, the mind wanders, the mind goes off and thinks about something else. Just bring yourself back and listen to the carrot being peeled, and listen to the onion being chopped, and you just bring yourself into that moment and use that 2 hour window as a mindful cooking experience.
Yeah,
And so
great.
that's why, yeah, some light background music or no background music, and then cook, have 2 hours and enjoy the cooking process. Like leave your phone away, like put your phone away, put any distractions away, and then cook some delicious food. I'm a big believer in cooking once at home and eating thrice or eating
Oh, love
twice. You
it.
cook
Very
once,
good.
you eat twice, because life is busy. We have much things to do. But if we have 2 productive hours, and instead of cooking a little pot of curry or a little stew or a little soup, cook a big batch. It's going to keep fresh in the fridge for 3 days. Or
Yep.
you can pop a couple of portions in the freezer for when we are too busy and need a meal in there.
Yeah, definitely.
And the third, yeah, yeah, I think what tasting it good is putting love into it and putting your focus, attention into it, and tasting as you go, and tasting it. And cooking is never perfection. You'll always make mistakes.
Mm,
When you're sitting down eating the dish, you might be thinking, oh, it needs a bit more salt, it needs a bit more lemon, and that's fine. It'll never be 100% perfect when you sit down to eat it, but be content and be happy in that you've actually been a success and you've actually cooked it and made a meal for yourself. That's a success. That's
I
something to pat
agree.
yourself on the back with. And
Yeah.
there's always anytime I make a recipe, I'm enjoying it and I'm content and happy with it, but I'm thinking, okay, well, it could have had this and it could have had that, and that could have improved it. So then I take mental note of that, or you could write that down. So the next time you come back to make that recipe, then you can evolve that recipe to make it even better. And a recipe, every time you make it, you will improve it.
That's great.
So
Great
I think
advice.
approaching your plant-based cookery like that, especially if you're going from animal-based cookery to plant-based cookery or vegan cookery, it is a transition. There is new skills to learn. So I think approaching it like that in just improving every time you do it is a good practical way to improve it.
I
And
love
then
that.
practical ways to hit your health goals is like it all starts with when we go to the supermarket
Hmm.
or when we buy online. So I think buying, the fresh fruits and vegetables and grains and pulses and all that is good, but you also have to stop buying the stuff that isn't doing us good and that causes temptation in the house. Because if it's bought and in the house, then we know it's in the house. We know the box of roses or
It's
the
in the
bar of
mouth.
chocolate or the crisp. We know what cupboard they're in. We know where they are. We know there's ice cream in the freezer. We know that. Our mind knows that. And then you have to fight a battle of temptation and willpower.
Definitely.
And that's not easy.
No,
And the later in
absolutely
the day,
not.
the later in the day it gets, the
Harder it
weaker our
is.
willpower gets. And then we
Yes.
give in. So I
Yep.
think to succeed in that area of temptation, which we all have, is to not buy it in the first place, to have
Yeah,
that discipline when we go to the supermarket, don't buy it.
I
Because I think
agree.
there's 60 to 70, maybe 80% of stuff in the supermarkets is completely unnecessary
Mm.
and shouldn't even be classed as food.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I'm curious to know for those people that are trying to move closer towards a plant-based diet with reducing their salt intake and oil and even sugar, but specifically salt and oil, what is an ingredient that they can use to avoid using to make it sort of taste salty without adding salt? And then I mean, would you say substituting oil for water? Is there another ingredient as a chef that you can recommend that will give a great outcome and still taste great, but it won't have all of those extra dense calories and
Yeah. Yeah, well, for salt, just there is one diet reader or people can look into. It's called the SOS diet. Now, it's not
yes.
technically a diet. I don't like to use the word diet, but it's called well, it is a diet because it was designed for people who have serious health issues, ailments, and cancers. And the SOS diet, it's a no salt, oil, sugar
Mhm.
diet, is a way of um, reducing all them out of your diet to help your body heal and detox. And I did actually have a client in Phuket I cooked an SOS diet for. He was
Okay.
overcoming cancer.
Okay.
He went through chemotherapy and he was following a vegan diet. He was 83 years old,
Oh, wow.
an inspiration of a guy. And we cooked, me and my partner through lockdown, we cooked an SOS diet for him. So that's when I started to look into that the first time. And it is challenging. It is challenging to make food taste good without no salt, no oil, no sugar. And I like a challenge. So for no salt, you can use different spices. You can use miso can be good as well for flavor. Um, use like citrus, like lemon juice and lime juice, use stuff like that. And yeah, using really fresh ingredients as well. And just like, if you're cooking a stir fry, like cut them up really thinly so that when you're steaming them down or sweating them down, there's more surface area so they can absorb the spices or they can absorb the herbs more easily. Whereas if you have a big chunk of vegetable that there's nothing in it, it's not going to be penetrated with the seasonings as efficiently.
Oh, that's
But
great.
also
Right.
steaming stuff as well, like over a stock, like making a vegetable stock and steaming vegetables in them can be good. So you can look into an SOS diet. It can give a lot more tips, but yeah, with no oil, um, more steaming. Like, you can cut your vegetables very small and put them in a small saucepan and add in some herbs and some water and some spices, and then like put a lid on them and just steam them gently. Cutting them up smaller just helps them cook quicker and helps them absorb all the seasonings you're putting in as well. Um,
Brilliant.
and then just yeah, I think just adapting, adapting. No sugar, like yes, no white sugar, and like even brown sugar as well acts the same. But then I like to use a little bit of dates or a little bit of apricots or something like that if you want to add in some more kind of natural style of sugar. Um, so yeah, it does take a little bit more effort, and then it's also becoming a bit more content with bland food, which I think is a good thing. I think
Definitely agree.
nowadays our taste buds are programmed by the food industry for high fat, high salt, high sugar, high
Overstimulated.
satisfaction, and high pleasure.
Yes. Yep.
And then we get into a way where people are eating for pleasure, which I do think eating is an enjoyment, it's sustenance, it's nourishment. We've evolved over millions of years to enjoy food. But I think we need to have them limits of and boundaries of like eating for pleasure is just a way of eating ourselves to sickness and so on. So I think bring it back to being able to eat a bowl of steamed rice and some vegetables and eating a very bland plate of food and just taking satisfaction and pleasure and contentment in that, I think is a good way to retrain, reprogram our minds.
I love that. That's great. And in terms of kitchen tools, what are three of the most essential kitchen tools do you think that somebody would benefit from if they were to have in their kitchen, especially focused on if someone's into raw vegan cuisine or,
Yeah.
what are three of your favorites?
I think one, I take it everywhere with me. It's a Thai peeler. It's a
A what?
Thai vegetable peeler,
Oh,
a
okay.
Thai peeler. You can find them easy online. They're $4 or $5, and it's like a speed peeler, but it's got a serrated edge on them. So when you peel a carrot or a papaya or any hard vegetable, a beetroot or that, or a kohlrabi, it peels it into a julienne.
Oh,
So you
fantastic.
can have
Okay.
you can have a whole carrot and a whole beetroot, and you can julienne peel these, and then mix them with a little vinaigrette or a little bit of some marinade
So
and some salad leaves. You've got a delicious salad in
yeah, that's
minutes.
that's amazing. So could you do zucchini noodles that way? Or is
Yes,
it
you
not
can.
quite
I
long
do them all
enough?
the time. I used to always recommend spiralizers, but spiralizers now there's so many types of them, and some of them are very badly made,
Yes.
and they end up just gathering dust in a cupboard. So I think spiralizers can be good, but if you get a Thai peeler, you can bring it anywhere in your pocket,
It's
and
a
it's
great
so much
idea.
more effective.
Yep.
So I think that's a great one. So either that or a mandolin. A mandolin are good as well for julienning like other vegetables. Another tool, a good chef knife, like a good knife
Okay.
is paramount. A
Yeah,
good knife and
great.
a good chopping board, that can be one item. Now I've cooked in other people's houses and they'll have like glass chopping boards and small tiny
Oh,
chopping
yeah.
boards, and they're very difficult to work on. Invest in a good, sturdy, big, heavy wooden chopping board, and it's so enjoyable to chop on,
Yes.
and it's nice and big, so you've got room to move around all your stuff. So I think that is a good investment in
That's
having
great.
that. So a good knife and chopping board, that can be one item classed as one, and then a good blender,
I
a
agree.
good. powerful blender. Vitamix aren't as good as they used to be. The old Vitamixes are really good, and now I think the
Right.
motors aren't as good, but they're still good. Vitamix are good, and there's I think Blend Tech.
Yes.
It is worth spending a little bit extra. I
Mm.
bought a Vitamix for I think £400 about 8 years ago, and my parents still have it here. I bought it
Oh,
back from
amazing.
England and I gave it
That's
to my
good.
parents. And my dad is still making his morning smoothie
I
blend.
love that.
Every 2 days, he makes a big smoothie blend and he loves it. They used to have a tiny little $20 blender.
Yeah.
And now that they have this one, they're like, wow,
Do you
the
know what he
difference
puts?
is
Yeah, it's a big difference, isn't it? Do you know what he puts in his smoothie?
he goes with the season. They go out foraging blackberries in season here, so we have a freezer full of blackberries. So yesterday
Nice.
morning he put in blackberries. When I'm here now, like there's coconut yogurt and oat milk in the fridge.
Oh,
They
great.
do have like, I'm not preaching to anyone what they should and shouldn't eat. They
Yes.
don't eat a lot of meat. They eat less. When I'm here, I cook all vegan food, and they love it. Um, but yeah, he put in some blackberries, some coconut yogurt, some oat milk. I think there was kiwi and banana and avocado.
Oh,
Generally,
oh,
just like
that's a great
whatever's in the
combination.
fruit bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his thing. Like every 2 days, he'll make it and he'll make enough for 2 days and keep it in the fridge. And
Oh,
he's
brilliant.
74 years old. Yesterday, he cycled 20 kilometer.
Oh,
He
wow.
did a six kilometer hike. And then in the evening time, I went down swimming with him to the local pool. He did about 40 lengths of the pool.
Gosh, that's amazing. That's
Um,
so good.
And I bought them a Herum juicer as well.
Oh,
Herum
did
juicers are
you?
brilliant. I love using them. And then they juice. Juicing is a bit more of a mission. You need to really set the intention and plan. And to juice prep, like they do it together about once a week. And we've a load of beetroots we just picked in the garden yesterday. So
Oh,
I'm going to juice
nice.
them and buy some apples and that. But I think it's such a great gift to give anybody. Coming up to Christmas now, it's what I'm going to recommend. Like all this Black Friday and everything. It's just pushing consumerism. And in the shops now, there's like
Yes.
roses and celebration sweets everywhere. People like, I think buying someone a juicer or a good blender and recipes to back it up, I think it's a great gift. So if anyone's watching this and is wondering what to buy their family or their kids or their loved one or what, I think buying a good kitchen tool that's they're going to use to produce food that they're going to put in their body to make them healthier is a great gift that you can give
Yeah,
someone.
I agree. I just gave my dad, I had two Kuvings cold pressed juices, and so I gave him one. And
Yeah,
yeah, and so I'm yet to teach him a few recipes of my different favorites and stuff like that. But I agree with you. I think for me personally, a good blender and a juicer are definitely two of my favorites
yeah,
for sure. 100%.
yeah. And you can make nut milks in them. You can make nut
Yes.
milks in good blenders and good juicers as well. And now nut milks and seed milks you buy in the shop, there is a lot of oils and stuff in them and everything.
Yeah,
So
I
they're so
agree.
easy to make and much cheaper to make at home as well.
So where did juicing come into play? You mentioned juicing a couple of times. So where did you first learn about juicing? Was it in Thailand or and sort of have
Well,
you done juice cleansing or what's your
mm,
experience there?
well, we used to do juicing in kitchens I worked in before. Like we'd make a cucumber juice or a celery juice. We'd make a celeriac juice and
Oh,
reduce it down to
wow.
make a sauce.
Right.
So making juices as sauces in kitchens are very pure. You get the essence of the ingredient. So we did juicing in like Michelin star kitchens and I worked in them. And then I think just for my own health, when I started doing CrossFit and like getting again my development kitchen when I set up at home, I
Hmm.
had a juicer and I like a really old rickety juicer, which I thought it did the job for then. But just started on myself, like using juices from as a part of a healthy diet.
Amazing.
Um,
Were you
like
doing
for yeah,
largely
so I think I
vegetable or fruit?
a bit of everything, what's in season, but mainly vegetable. And then I'd blend, like I like doing a combination of juicing and smoothie where you
Oh,
juice all
good.
the carrots and beetroots and pineapple and whatever, and then you blend in a banana and an avocado. So you have like a
Oh,
half
okay.
juice, half smoothie.
Nice.
So yeah, juicing like it's just a great thing to incorporate into your own diet. And I always like I think doing juice demonstrations then at cookery courses I do and workshops I do. It's a nice way to introduce a technique to people at home that
Hmm.
they can make instant change to their diet. Because when you drink these cold pressed juices that you make at home, it's just you're getting so much nutrition into your body that
I
it's a
agree.
great way that at home you can make quick changes and make a great impact in your health. I've done a few juice cleanses. Mainly for myself, it'll be only a day. I have done fasting as well, but I only do maximum for myself one day, 24 hours,
Hmm.
and juicing 24 hours. We have done 3 day juice cleanses as well in Phuket when we had the business over there. So I think, yeah, developing a juice cleanse over 3 days is predominantly vegetables, like 80% vegetables, 20% fruit. And it is a
Amazing.
great way for people to give their digestion a rest.
Mm,
Like our digestion when we're eating is always going. We consume 35 tons, no, 35 tons of food in our life on average. So that's a
that's
lot
a
of
lot of
work
food.
our
Yeah.
digestion is doing.
Yep.
So if we can give that a rest for 1, 2, 3 days, um, yeah.
What would be a typical juice that you would make, a vegetable juice? What would be a recipe that you could recommend?
On our website, we got a super green juice. It is celery, cucumber. There's a little bit of apple in there just to balance it, and kale, spinach, and then there's some lime in there as well. So generally a lot of greens, like
Sounds
lots of
good.
good organic fresh greens, and then some broccoli in there as well. I
That's
think it's good
brilliant.
to retrain our taste buds and
So you mentioned that you started to set up your own kitchen at home 8 years ago. So is that where the Culinary Academy was first born, or was that later on? So just talk us through that. I want to understand
yeah.
more.
Mm. So I came back from Thailand when was it 9 years ago, say, and then I didn't walk in straight into another full-time job. I didn't want to. I needed some time out
Right.
to develop, explore, be creative. So I set up a little development kitchen at home in my apartment, which is, the most cost-effective and easiest way to do it. It's going to be
Very
food
good.
I'm eating myself and my partner as well. So that's where it kind of started. And from there, then I was doing like cooking on yoga retreats and doing different consultancy projects and doing some private chef work as well. So I do a lot of the prep there at home and then go out and do the retreats in different properties around the Cotswolds. So that's where you'd say the concept of holistic chef was created.
Right.
I did start the business back then about 8 years ago, and I said to my partner, "So how does a holistic chef sound?" She's like, "Yeah, sounds good." And that was my intention is to like holistic as a whole approach to food. It's not just what
Mm,
we're eating, it's how, when, why, where we're eating. So there's so much
absolutely.
to it. So the holistic chef for me is like it leaves room for creativity and exploration. It's not following any one diet or any one trend. It's continually evolving, and it touches on every aspect of food from how it's grown to how it's prepared and how it's served and actually how it's eaten. Like
Mhm.
when we sit down and chew our food, many people, don't know how to eat, and we're eating like being distracted and so on. So there's so many different facets to it. So that's where it was kind of born. And then the Holistic Chef Academy came through me understanding in that education is needed 100%. So much education is needed. So that's when the academy part came out of it, and that hang on, like, now what I enjoy teaching and I enjoy sharing knowledge. So that's where the academy part came in, and that okay, like pass on this knowledge. I've always been passing on knowledge in my career. When I'm training a junior chef to help them move up through the ranks, you have to teach them, you have to educate them. So education has always been an aspect of what I've been doing in my career, hence the academy came from that and the understanding that like now I have to teach people, now I want to teach people.
It's
That's all part
amazing.
of it, part of the education. And
Yeah.
there's many different platforms I do that. I have chefs come work with me on retreats, so
Okay.
that's a very one-to-one personal like experience to
And are those,
train an apprentice chef.
yeah, are those retreats largely food oriented, or is there yoga and other activities involved?
Food is a big aspect of it, but different retreats have different elements depending on the focus of the retreat. Some retreats can be really focused on meditation.
Hmm.
Some retreats can be really focused on yoga with a little bit of meditation. And
Okay.
then other retreats can be just very fitness and weight loss and
Oh,
life
great.
transformation, and that just like from, there's morning yoga, but then you have a boxing class at 9 a.m. and then you have breakfast, and then lunchtime there's more cardio classes and there's spinning classes. So generally, like, food is always a big aspect of retreats. It's always the foundation, and it's always like where everyone connects over the dinner table and how they refuel, and it's so important to every retreat. But then different retreats can have different activities.
Nice. And are they largely in Thailand or some in the UK as well?
I've done in Spain recently. All this year has been in Spain,
Okay.
in Marbella,
Oh,
Estepona,
wow.
south of Spain. And then I've
Beautiful.
done, when I was living in England, we used to do a lot of retreats in Portugal, and some in Thailand, yes. But generally, yeah, it kind of depends on who I'm working with on the retreats and where they are. So they kind of, there are no set places each year, sort of
Yeah.
always evolving.
Oh, that's so great. And where's your favorite retreat or luxury wellness hotel that you visited, either as a guest or that you've taught at?
Um, Good question. So many. I haven't been to Bali yet,
Okay.
so I'm not incorporating any there. Um, my favorite one I've been to is Dipavan. It's on a mountain on top of
Ooh.
Koh Samui.
Oh,
It's a meditation
beautiful.
retreat, and it's not luxury. It's far. Everyone's concept of luxury is different,
It is. I
and
agree.
this retreat, and some people need luxury, and sometimes luxury is not wellness. Sometimes we need to let go of luxury. Like,
I agree with
why
you
do
on
we
that.
need all these luxurious things to make us feel good? Because what happens when we don't have all this luxury? How are you going to feel good?
Yeah, you need to strip it back sometimes
So
and just be in the moment and
you
just
can strip it
appreciate.
back,
Yeah.
appreciate nature, and connect with nature.
Yes.
So my favorite one was the Dipavan. It's a meditation retreat in Koh Samui, and you sleep on a wooden bed under a mosquito net,
Oh, wow.
and you're basically in the jungle. So if you're afraid of spiders or snakes, it's probably not the place to go.
Yeah.
But letting go of that fear and just being okay with it was liberating in itself. And you eat twice a day, very plain food, very simple food. You eat in silence, excuse me, and
Love
you eat mindfully. And there's great meditation teachers there. And the yoga is more like stretching, which is great because you're sitting for 6 or 7 hours a day meditating. So you don't want to be doing any intense exercise
Yeah.
or strenuous yoga. You just actually want to stretch because you've been sleeping on a wooden bed at nighttime as well. So that for me was my favorite, probably because, yeah, the experience, the teachers. I think it's the teachers that make a place. It's not the fancy spa and fancy plateware and fancy fork and knife and napkins and tableware. Like, it's the teachers and the knowledge that they can give you that I think is the most invaluable thing.
I
It
agree.
doesn't have to cost a lot. Meditation is free. It doesn't cost anything. You can do it anytime, any place, anywhere. You don't have to pay. You have to learn how to do it, I think, and it's good to learn the right way.
Mm.
Um, Another, like, we talk about luxury retreats and that, but I think, and luxury wellness, I think it's something that's been commercialized a lot. I think a lot of it's unnecessary. I think a lot of what we can do is free. I think sleep is one of them is probably the most important aspect of health and wellness.
Mm.
If we're not getting enough sleep or getting enough quality sleep, it impacts every part of our life, from our
Yeah, I can
hunger
agree.
levels to our mood
It's
to
to bad
our
food choices,
decisions we
doesn't it?
make,
Yes.
bad food choices,
Yes.
everything. So I think having minimum 6, but between 7 and 8 hours of sleep a night, it's free unless time is money. But if we
Yeah.
sleep good, then when we work through the day, we're more productive and we can earn more money that way.
Yeah,
So I think
definitely.
that 7 to 8 hours of sleep is free, meditation is free, and then exercise is free. We can go out for a run, a walk. Like, we don't need expensive CrossFit or gym memberships. They are a luxury. They are good, nice to have, nice to go to the classes,
Mm.
but we can still go out for a walk. We can still go out for a run. We can still do press ups and sit ups at home. They're all free.
Mm.
So I think there's 3 pillars there of health that are free. So I do think a healthy lifestyle is accessible to most people.
Definitely.
Healthy food. You can buy a soup in the supermarket for like $3 for one portion, or you can buy $2 worth of organic vegetables and make 4 portions of soup.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
just takes
Very
that
good point.
commitment to say, okay, I'm going to cook food myself. I'm going to buy good quality organic vegetables, beans, pulses, grains. They're not expensive. Buying a
Yes.
big piece of meat is expensive. You can buy black beans and lentils and quinoa and millet and all these grains that are so healthy and they're so nutritious and they're inexpensive. They
Mm,
just take a little bit of skill and a little bit of know-how to make barley and black beans taste good. Takes a bit of skill and takes a
agree.
bit of mindfulness and love into the food, but it
Definitely.
can be done, and
Yes.
the return of investment, I believe, is invaluable.
Is huge. So, in your cooking, in your culinary academy, what's the one skill set or skill that you want your students to have, like, have mastered essentially when they leave, in order for them to sort of go on and to be able to craft their own plant-based cuisine in a way that
Mm.
is, just above the average, above norm,
Mm. One skill, I don't know if you call it a skill, but I think the
or one
one
technique? What is
the
something that,
one
that you want
technique
them to
or
walk
one
away with?
skill
Yes.
is the how do I explain it? One skill, the one I think it comes back to empowerment in that, like, giving that them person the confidence and motivation, whether that's two or one, but giving them that ability to continue on with what they're doing, um, to to continue it on and to continue improving. And I don't think it's any one skill, like
Right.
whether it's knife skills or cooking or
Right.
baking. Like cooking, there's so many different skills. So I don't think you can give any one skill.
Mm,
That mindset, I think that's invaluable. I think that's where the success is, in that just carrying on and having that motivation and confidence and belief that they can do it and that it's good for them. Yeah, and the motivation, I think motivation is everything.
mm.
If people don't have the motivation to cook or to eat healthy, well, then no advertisement or no knife skills are gonna help them. So I think it's having that motivation and belief and confidence that they can do it
Mm.
and
What's
that
one of
it's worth the while.
I think that's great. I think that's really, really important too. What's one of the what's one of the top dishes that you like, raw, vegan, or it can be cooked, that you usually place on every menu that you create for a wellness retreat or hotel? Do you have one that's a
Yeah,
staple, or one that you teach within your academy that's just an absolute staple? You want to share? It's at the top of the list.
yeah, yeah. I think one comes to mind. It varies because retreats are always in different locations, and with food, you're always kind of governed by what's in your
Very
region and
true.
what's in season. But I think it all comes back to breakfast.
Okay.
I think if there was any one dish, it would be a breakfast dish, and
Why is
I
that?
believe
That's
because
interesting.
it's the first thing we eat every day. Every day is a new day. Every day is a fresh day. Every day we wake up in the morning. It's a new opportunity. It's a fresh start. We have we have the opportunity to put yesterday behind us, learn from it, and move on. If we made bad food mistakes the night before, it's in the past. It's good. It's done. It's done. It's yesterday, and today is a new day to start. So I think breakfast is always an opportunity to start your day the right way and make each day your masterpiece. So if we make the right decision in the morning for breakfast, there's a good chance we'll continue that on for the rest of the day. So I think having that good bowl of breakfast, and it doesn't have to be complicated. I like porridge. I've had it for about 30 years. Porridge, a good bowl of oats, like here in Ireland and Scotland and England and the West and up in Scandinavia,
Mm,
it's a staple part of a diet because it's warming, it's comforting, it grows plentiful, like rye, oats, barley, whatever the base for porridge, it grows plentifully here. And it's very nutritious. So going back, 100 years, that's what all our great grandparents used to eat for breakfast,
mm,
used to set them up for the day, a good bowl of porridge. If you're over in a warmer climate and I'm in Thailand, it's more overnight oats. So I don't cook them. I just soak them overnight
Mm-hmm.
in a good quality nut or seed milk mixed with oats and chia seeds. I like the blend of oat and chia seeds because it provides all the amino acids. So you got a good protein foundation to build upon. And then on top of that, then you can add in seasonal fruits, whether blackberries are in season or mango is in season, just a little bit of seasonal fruit on top, and then a good quality nut or seed butter, either a nice tahini butter or a nice almond butter or macadamia butter.
Oh, yeah.
And then some little bit of coconut nectar or a little bit of maple syrup, whether
That
if
sounds
you're in
good.
America or if you're in Asia,
Right.
you adapt whatever is available. So I think having that base of either a porridge or a overnight oat,
Okay.
whether you're in a hot climate or a cold climate,
That's
and
great.
then you can add in a whole multitude of different ingredients that are available in your region.
Mm,
And then, you have a grain, you have seeds, you have nuts, you have a good, you have some fruits there. So you've probably got 40%, 30% anyways of your daily nutritional requirements in that bowl
that's so
that you
good.
can, if you're making porridge, soak it the night before, put it in a saucepan, cover it with water and leave it out there the night before. And
Why
you
do you
set
do
that
that?
intention. So when you
Why do you
well,
soak them?
it's a good technique. It softens the oats and it almost
Okay.
kind of like starts a little mini fermentation process and it makes it more digestible and that.
I was going to
So
ask that.
soaking no oats and grains and that overnight is good, but also makes the texture much nicer. I like to use large flakes. If you're buying oats, I think it's better to buy the large flakes.
Is that
All
in
these like
Australia? Is that the same as rolled oats? Because we've got quick oats,
rolled oats. Yeah,
rolled oats.
yeah,
Not that because then there's
yeah, rolled oats.
the oat groats as well, which is the whole grain, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, they take a lot more cooking. They'd be
Yes,
for
that's what I thought.
a different application. But
Okay.
generally, the rolled oats, the quick
Okay.
oats are just rolled oats that are blend down to a flour,
Ah,
basically,
okay.
and they're kind of just quicker to heat up. But I think,
Yep.
with food as well, we need to get back to patience. Patience, something that we can all learn in life and
Yeah,
all
I
need to develop
agree.
that skill. And cooking is one way to develop our patience. And the food industry are selling convenience. They're convincing everybody that they don't have time to cook because life's too busy and you have so many other things to do. So here is an instant oat, stick in the microwave for 30 seconds or pour boiling water over it and it's done. And they charge a premium for that. If you
Hmm.
buy oats per kilo, they're about $2 a kilo. If you buy them in the instant oat sachets, they're probably about $9 or $10 a kilo
Hmm.
because they've put them in an individual sachet and they've added in a little bit of milk powder or a little bit of sugar into it. So they're making money on convenient product, on telling us that we don't have time to cook. So I
Yeah.
think coming back to cooking, it's good to, take the time to you know, cook the large rolled oats. It takes a little bit longer to cook them on the stove, but it's worth it. So soaking them overnight softens the oats and makes a much creamier, nicer, softer porridge.
Yeah, very nice.
So, Evan, but it also sets the intention. When you go to bed at night, you're already planning. I'm going to have my bowl of oats tomorrow. I got some blackberries in the freezer. I got some almond butter here. I got some toasted pumpkin seeds. I got some coconut yogurt, and you've got all your things in the fridge. You put your pot out on the stove, just cover it, leave it at room temperature, cover it, and then that set the intention. And then if you're doing the overnight oat, you soak them the night before. Just soak the oats and the chia seed in the milk. It takes 30 seconds, soak them, leave them in the fridge, and then the
Hmm.
next day you can mix it and you can add in your vanilla or your cinnamon or your lemon zest or your raisins or whatever. You can finish it up, but at least you've done the base mix soaked the night before. And
Yeah,
then in the morning, psychologically, it's like, oh, what will I have for breakfast today? The decision's already made.
it's
You're
great.
already having your overnight oat or your porridge
Yeah.
and it's there. And then if you start the day that way, and you get 30% of your daily nutritional needs and you're fueled for the day, you've got a good base, your metabolism is fired up and everything. I think it's a great habit to embrace. Now, a lot of people tell me, I don't feel hungry in the morning, or I don't have time for breakfast, or I don't feel hungry until lunchtime. Our body adapts. Our body will adapt. If we're not giving it food in the morning, our body will adapt to not getting that. But I do believe that, if we don't have that breakfast in the morning, we get a bout of hunger in the afternoon. Then it's like an emergency hunger. because we've been
Yes.
busy in the morning, we've been working, bringing the kids to school, you've been just doing, the brain is working so much.
I'm definitely
And then
guilty of that for sure.
it comes afternoon then, and you're like, I'm so hungry. And it's
Yes.
that emergency hunger. And I notice that hunger when I'm traveling and I don't have my oats that I'm used to. I might have like something, some fruit or something, but then I notice
Mm.
at lunchtime I've like got this extra hunger that I'll just eat anything because I'm so hungry, I'm so starving, I just need to eat. It's like an emergency hunger.
Yes, I've
And then we
definitely
reach
experienced
for the wrong things. We reach
true.
for the wrong things because we just have to eat. Whereas having that breakfast in the morning, you've got them complex carbohydrates in the system. They're slow releasing energy. And then it comes lunchtime, you're like, yeah, I'm hungry now. I can wait 20 minutes if there's something that's not right for me to eat, or I can wait, or I can go somewhere else to get something better, or I can wait till I go home to get something. So I think it just gives us that a good foundation
Mm.
to build upon. So yeah, I think that's one of the best things is that a good breakfast bowl.
I love that. That's great. And I love your quote too, make each day a masterpiece. I think that could be a book or
Mm.
yeah, definitely. That's
Yeah,
brilliant.
make each
Great
day your
way.
masterpiece. Thanks. Yeah, we do have a choice. I think we do. Everything comes back to a choice, and we do have a choice.
Mm.
You know, with food, coming back to food, we choose what we eat every day. We
Yep.
put 35 tons of food in our mouth on average throughout our lives, and that's a choice. No one's force feeding us.
Yep.
No one's opening their mouth and forcing it down directly, but indirectly they are through
Yes.
advertising.
No, I
And
agree
they're
with that.
influencing and manipulating our mind to
Mm.
create these desires for this beautifully looking, tasting food that does taste good. They
Mm.
have scientists, highly skilled scientists, who are fabricating this food to make it hit these receptors on our taste buds that make us come back for more and more and more. And these companies are for profit. They're not for people. They're making profit. They don't care about our health and our energy and our well-being. They're there to make money, these big food industry.
Mm.
Um, so I think that power of choice as well is one of the most powerful things that we can have, that ability to make the right decision on what to buy in the shop,
I agree.
and what
Definitely.
to choose to eat. And it's hard to make, we're faced with these choices every day. When we go to every coffee shop, we go to every restaurant, we go to every time we go to the supermarket, every time we look at our smartphone, we're faced with these choices. And making the right choice for our body and our health and our future
Mm.
is sometimes a harder choice to make. But the more we make the right choice for ourselves, the easier it gets. But
I
it takes
agree.
a lot of mindfulness and a lot of awareness.
I agree.
But that's
Yeah, that's great. In your academy, how much of an emphasis do you actually have on raw vegan cuisine as opposed to cooking?
mm. I think about 30%, maybe 20 to 40% around that. Yeah. Well, I did raw vegan for about like, yeah, a month to 2 months, I remember. And it took a lot of effort and it took a lot of planning.
Does.
And I found out that I was very rarely hungry, because the food is so nutrient dense. And I was
Mm.
surprised because I love eating. I take a lot of pleasure and enjoyment from eating, but I'm like, well, I'm not hungry.
How
So
did
like,
you feel physically when you were having just raw vegan food?
I felt, yeah, energized. I felt a lot of energy. Yeah, so it is good. So I think as well, it can be good for different people depending on where they are in their lives and on their health journey. It can be good for a period of time. It can be very good
Hmm.
because you have to prepare all the food yourself. And you're spending the time preparing food for yourself. You're learning new techniques. You're consuming so much nutrient dense food. It's so cleansing and so nutrient dense, like all these fresh sprouts and raw breads and like raw wraps and raw vegetables and everything, like in juices. It's so nutrient dense. So it's very cleansing, very healing.
Hmm.
So I do recommend people to try it if they're interested in it. Um, but I love cooking food as well. I
Yeah,
love
of
warm
course.
food. I love hot. I expect. I'm freezing now. That's why I'm moving a lot
Oh,
because when the window is open and it's
oh
cold. I'm
no.
used to a tropical climate. So eating a raw vegan diet in Ireland in the winter time would be hard. Like even drinking a smoothie in the morning is difficult for me here now. Like I need warm tea and a warm porridge.
Yes.
So with my holistic approach to food, I never say any one way is the way to eat because it
I
depends
love that.
on
That's
where we
great.
are with our health journey, what age we are, what region of the world we're in,
And what goals we have. Yep.
and what our goals are. So I would say try raw vegan for a period of time. And then to do it sustainably, I think to have a healthy diet as well and or a healthy food intake, it has to be sustainable. It has to be enjoyable.
Agree.
If like that's why diets don't work because
Mm.
people go on a diet and they're proven not to work because you're
Yes.
restricting yourself and it's not enjoyable. Who enjoys being on a diet where you're eating 1,200 calories a day and you're hungry all day and you're like just craving every type of food? You might lose a couple of kilos, but then once you go back to eating again, which you ultimately will, you end up putting on more weight and like not feeling happy with yourself. Then you feel like you failed. So I think our relationship with food and our eating routine has to be enjoyable. It has to be sustainable long term. So I think
Mm.
having like 30 to 40% raw vegan or just raw food, I call it. I don't even call it vegan. I just call it raw food.
Mm.
Hopefully people don't eat raw fish and raw meat, although that is a thing. But eating raw food, yeah, like avocado, you have a salad, avocado and tomato and some salad leaves and cucumber and onions and so on. That's a raw vegan salad. But then
Great.
sometimes I might put chickpeas on it for
Mm.
an extra bout of protein.
Yeah.
Technically, that's not raw, so it's probably a 80% raw salad and 20% cooked. So I think it's having that kind of awareness that yes, I'm eating raw food, but it's not 100% raw. I'm kind of like balancing it, a bit of raw and a bit
I
of
think that's a
cooked.
great approach. Great approach.
Yeah,
Love
and
it.
that's more enjoyable and more sustainable long term, I think. The way I think with eating is that we have to create a lifestyle and a eating routine that's something we can do for the rest of our lives that we enjoy.
I agree.
Yeah.
Looking back towards the earlier time when you first went plant-based, was there one particular thing that you did that made the biggest improvement in your health overall? So was it something that you left, was there any one ingredient that you left out, or was it just a new habit that you formed, or was it a mindset shift? What was the one thing that had the most significant impact and, improving your health and wellness?
Um, it's a very good question. Very good question. It's hard to narrow it down into any one thing. Yeah, it's hard to know because there wasn't any one thing it was a combination of all factors. Like I smoked
Right.
for 15 years, I drank a lot, ate a lot of fast food. I overworked, I underslept. So there was like a
Right.
huge combination of things that were out of balance. So it's a very good question, but it's hard to answer any one thing.
That's okay.
Um, I think, yeah, it's hard to say which is the one thing. 'Cause I think all in all, it's just like an awareness of like investing in myself, like not from a materialistic or ego thing, but just investing, just seeing that like everything we do every day is an investment. Even last night, like every time I sleep, I know it's 7.5 hours. I know that's a good investment for my day to day.
Mm.
Like I know I'm going to have good energy all day today because I've had a good night's sleep. So I think seeing, when I go to the gym, I do it as an investment for the future. When I'm lifting weights or I go for a run, I'm not doing it to alleviate boredom or that. It's like I'm investing in my body. If I'm tired today and I haven't slept well, then maybe I don't go to the gym or maybe I don't go because I'm putting my body through even more stress.
Yeah.
So I think kind of continually seeing ourselves as an investment and we're investing now for our future,
I love that. I
which
think
we
that's
always
so
are. And
powerful.
when
Yeah.
we're mm, seeing
Hugely
it as an
powerful.
investment, and it's just a change then of mindset in that, okay, if I want to go out for 5 beers tonight with my friends, okay, well then that's a bad investment.
Mm.
Like, but then I don't see my friends a lot. It's a rare occasion. So it's okay. Well, I go out and I'll have 3 or 4 pints. I'm not going to have any shots. I'm not going to have any whiskeys. That's where the limit is.
Yeah.
And I think we can afford to make some bad investments, but in knowing that okay, it's a bad investment physically for our body,
Mm.
but then socially you get to see some friends you haven't seen for a long time and so on. So I think we always have to make them compromises. And then the next day, next week, I'll be back in CrossFit and I'll be making good investments and, eat good throughout the day. And I think just going through life, seeing that like we are always making investments in our future, generally people see finance as investments, invest in property, invest in this, but then
Mm.
we might be financially very wealthy and have lots of assets to our name and have a big bank balance, but then if we're feeling crap and have no energy and have health problems, well then what good is all that financial investment to us? So I
Yeah,
think investing in our body, in our health, in our mental health, physical health, investing in them is the best investment we can make.
I love that. I feel like
So
that's almost like
mm,
a vision and legacy for you. So looking ahead, if you were to say what is your vision and legacy and hope for the future of food experiences and holistic living,
mm.
what would you wish for?
Yeah, I think people getting back to basics really. Like I've started studying meditation and Buddhism a lot, living in Thailand for the last 5 years, and I think with meditation you learn to see things more clearly. You see beyond what you're being shown, and it's very interesting, and sometimes very scary because you see so much. Like, I see very large people coming out of the supermarket with so much junk in their basket, and there's a direct correlation. So I think we have a very violent food industry that's making so many people sick, and it's just blatantly crimes against humanity going on. The food that's been sold to kids, Halloween is just finished. Halloween, you look in the shops for Halloween and it's just like toxic, poisonous colored food
I know.
everywhere to give kids what, a treat? So kids are grown up with this mentality that, like, that all this food is a treat. And what kind of a mindset is that, like, to give
Yeah.
kids? And I believe that, like, if young kids are getting addicted to Coca-Cola and all these junk foods, then they're going to get addicted to these colorful vaporizer,
Oh,
like
yeah.
nicotine
They're
vaporizers, and
so
then they're
big
going to get
here.
addicted to alcohol, and then they're going to addicted to meth and cocaine. And like that may sound extreme, but I don't believe it is, because the level of addiction, whether it's food or class A drugs, it's a similar addiction. It's getting us away from our general unsatisfactoriness of where we are right now,
Mm.
which is where we need to become content with. And I think food is a very powerful tool in like just like healing all that. And I think with the next generation, with kids, I do believe that food education and cooking need to be a compulsory subject in school.
I love that. Very good. Yeah.
It has to be, like, it needs to be. Like, there's so much, like, I got kicked out of school at 15, and like, what happens, so many people get kicked out of school because, or they leave school with, you know thinking they're no good because they don't know history, or they don't know, they haven't studied their English or like algebra and maths, but they're very clever in other ways. So I think growing food, preparing food, need to be compulsory in school. Like,
Mhm.
children need to know where food comes from, how to grow it, and then what to do with it. It's the most invaluable life skill. It's something we do every day of our lives. Is we eat. We eat
Mm.
food every day. We have to. And if we have a food system that in one way is very good. We can get kiwis from New Zealand to my shop next door.
Right.
In one way
Yeah.
it's incredible. But in other ways, like, these big food conglomerates are selling toxic food that's making people very, very sick
Yeah.
from a very young age. Childhood obesity is going through the roof, and it's getting a lot worse before it's going to get better, unless
Mm.
these junk food industries are highly regulated. Their advertising needs to be banned. You need health warnings on their food items, and they need to be regulated so much more. But now it's just being blatantly sold to children and getting them hooked from such a young age. Coca-Cola, all these sweets and everything. So I think that needs to change drastically,
Yeah, I agree.
drastically.
I agree.
Food education. So that's with the Holistic Chef Academy. That's, it's a lifelong project for me. It's a lifelong thing. And I have gone into schools before in England when I lived there and doing juicing workshops with kids.
Oh, wow, that's
I'd say,
brilliant.
okay, I'd do a juicing workshop, and I'd say, okay, I'd introduce the ingredients, say, hands up who doesn't like beetroot. And I remember you get like loads of hands going up, me,
Of
me, me, me.
course,
They don't like
right. Yeah.
beetroot. So then I make a juice with beetroot and apple and pear and pineapple, and make a nice blend of a juice, and then invite up a couple of the kids, who
Mm.
are the ones who aren't too shy to come up, And then they drink the juice and they're like, "Do you like it now?" Yeah, it's good. They like beetroot. Yeah, it's good. And I think that's one of the most powerful things kids can have, from going to believing that they don't like something
I agree.
to liking it. Like that's
Yes.
powerful. And I do that with the retreats as well, with like people who are a lot older. People who are a lot older in their 50s, and we had a very fussy student or client with us recently, and didn't like this, didn't like everything, but we didn't tell her what was on the menu. And
Oh,
then it
very
comes,
good.
and then at dinner time, when she's very hungry and she's done a lot of fitness and a lot of exercise throughout the day, and she's on retreat, and then to sit down to dinner, and like, here's your food, and that's it. That's all she can have. And she's in a safe environment to taste it and to try it. And she came up to me at the end of the week and she's like, "Wow," she said, "if you told me what was on that menu at the start of the week, I'd have been asking you all week to change this and change that." And she said, "I tried things this week that I thought I never liked in my life and I've enjoyed them."
That's
And she said, "Thank you."
amazing. I think
And
that's
I think,
brilliant that you did that, because
uh,
every retreat or every time I go to a restaurant, that's exactly right. You're so conditioned to
mm,
pick out the things that you don't like. But
yeah,
to have, when you're working out that much, you're right. You get so hungry because you've
hungry.
worked out. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
it's real hunger too. It's not just the fake boredom
real
hunger.
hunger.
Yeah.
Real hunger. Hunger is the best sauce. It is the
Yes.
best sauce.
Love
If people
that.
are really, really, really hungry and haven't eaten and they've been out working on the land or
Yes.
out hiking and hunting for food, and if you're hungry,
Yeah.
you sit down, you're like, "Oh, sorry, I don't like chickpeas." You're
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
you you eat them. And like, I think nowadays people are too spoiled. We are in
Yes.
Western world. We're absolutely, completely, 100% over spoiled with food. Every type of food from everywhere.
Yeah,
Too many foods, and we're
very
too
true.
spoiled. So I think, yeah, food education, I think, needs to be a core subject in school. Definitely, yeah. And I think
And hospitals.
that'd
I
be
think
good.
that's the second one. Schools and hospitals. For
Hospitals,
me,
yeah.
that's the, yeah.
Hospitals. Well, that's just a brief story. That's what started me on my holistic journey too. I was with a family member in a chemotherapy ward about nine
Mm,
years ago. And this is a time when people are at their most vulnerable. They're so weak. They're going through
yes.
chemotherapy. And I was in a ward with the ward is full of people on chemotherapy, and all their families members are with them, holding their hands. And like, I was just like, it was a really emotional time. And
Of
then what
course.
happened? And what we were doing for our family member at that time was like cooking her so much healthy food and clearing out her kitchen cupboards of all any like cheap oils and stuff like that. And
Oh,
we
that's
were
good.
filling her up with like so much nutrient dense food to boost her immunity throughout chemo. And then when we were on the chemotherapy ward, what happened then was like, it was life changing for me. What happened was a little sweets trolley came in with cans of
Mm.
Coke and Mars bars and
Oh,
crisps,
no.
treats, selling treats. Like it was it was just disgusting, really. Like these
Yeah, it's
people, like
shocking.
in that time, they needed to save their lives. Basically, like it comes down to that, to boost your immunity, to boost your immunity so your body can get through that. Like what's needed is the most nutrient dense food. And then you walk around the hospital and there's McDonald's and there's Burger King and there's Dunkin' Donuts. Thank you, America. Nice one. Sorry, I don't mean to be
You're okay.
sarcastic, but it came out there. And then yeah, Coca-Cola, Mars bars, and all them, and they're selling them to the family members there to give them a little treat or a bit of comfort, which like, so that was one of the really driving forces behind me to start this whole holistic, healthy uh, journey, which has been very exciting
Oh,
and
it's
feels
so
very
exciting.
fulfilling as well to make them changes, to make them small changes in people's
Absolutely.
lives. Like it's better than any Michelin star,
Oh, and any
any
award.
accolade
I
can bring.
agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't want recognition for it too. I don't like want the person writing me a testimonial if they want to, and it helps me in business, help my
No, but
business grow so I can earn
don't you
more.
feel,
But
don't
but
you
yeah, I
feel,
just feel but I don't. Yeah, I do feel like when I get messages from people, like someone
yes.
messaged me recently and they did I have a juice cleanse, 3-day juice cleanse
Okay.
on my website, like all
Okay.
the recipes there. It's
Oh,
free. I don't
brilliant.
charge for it.
What's your website?
It's holisticchefacademy.com.
Okay. And is
And
it the
then
same on
if you go on there,
obviously same on Instagram as well? And are you on Facebook too,
yeah,
or?
Instagram is the holistic chef, the underscore
Okay.
holistic_chef.
Okay, great.
And I have a Facebook page there as well. Yeah. And then, yeah, I have a 3-day DIY juice cleanse. So all the recipes are there. And a little bit of information too on what to do before the juice cleanse and what to
Okay.
do after it as well.
So
And what to do
important.
during it. A little bit of light yoga, a little bit of meditation. So to take them 3 days as well of like just a little mini retreat at home.
Love
So
that.
then when I have someone email me like that I'd never met before or anything, and I just say I've lost 2 kilos in the last 3 days. I've loved all your juices. I'm sharing them with my friends and everything like that. And that makes me feel good, like to know that you're making that positive impact and someone, I don't even know what country she comes from, but just to know that you've had that impact on someone so far
Definitely.
away, and then I see it as the ripple effect as well. They will share that with their friends, and that'll go on, and that'll go on, and that's quite fulfilling. Helps me sleep good at night.
Oh, it definitely does. Have you got any plans of coming to Australia to do any retreats?
I would love to come to Australia if someone wants to invite me. I haven't made it that far. I've
Right.
traveled a lot from America to Europe and Asia, but unfortunately, I've never made it to Australia yet. I've lots of great Australian friends. Sorry if you don't mind me
No,
throwing all
that's
these things.
100% love it. Love it. That's normal. Well, if you
I've
come to
worked with
Bali,
lots.
you've got to come to Sydney.
Yeah, yeah, I will. Yeah, hopefully, yeah, I will. I would like to. Yeah, I'd love to travel. Yeah, and explore it. Yeah,
That's
and catch
brilliant.
up with all my friends over there as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
so if somebody's sitting at home and they're actually two parts from a chef's perspective, or somebody that's really interested in diving deeper into the plant-based culinary world and carving out their own unique path, do you just have a simple tip or a bit of advice that you could give them? And then secondly, if someone's wanting to transition to a plant-based diet,
Mm.
what's one thing that can make the transition easier?
Mm. Okay, two big questions. So
Yes.
to make the transition easier, well, knowledge is power, and the
Mm.
transition it's a transition. So how slow or how fast you go depends on you and your lifestyle and education as well. There is a lot of fake foods out there, fake plant-based foods as well, which try to make the transition easier. You go from real chicken to fake chicken, but which is
Oh,
better?
so bad.
A
Yeah.
lentil or a chickpea,
Yeah.
or a black bean.
Yes.
So I would say with the transition, what would help you on the transition would be, yeah, knowledge. Just educate yourself on real foods, and learn about, make small changes. Small changes. If you make one small change every day, could be going from cow's milk to oat milk one day, and the next day
Mhm.
could be going from chicken to chickpeas. You just go make one small change each day or each week even, and then over a period of time, that adds up. And
Definitely.
don't get yourself down. Like we all make mistakes. You're out for a pizza and you really want cheese on it. Like, okay, do it, but own it. That's your decision. Don't
Mm.
feel bad about it. Don't eat with guilt. I think a lot of people eat with guilt and remorse and that, and especially now with, like, animal cruelty and climate change and veganism and all that. I think there
Mm.
is a big element of eating with guilt, and that can bring eating disorders and, fear of eating and all that. Eating should be like enjoyment, something that we enjoy doing and we're happy doing, and nourishes us. So I think eating with gratitude, is something to embrace as well.
So
So yeah,
perfect.
the transition, it's a transition. It's a whole change of mindset. Our relationship with food starts from when we're being breastfed as a child. So we're very young. So it's deeply ingrained in us. So it is a life-changing thing, a transition. So, roll with it. Roll with it. It's a journey. So I don't know if that's any one thing with the transition, but
No,
I'd say, yeah,
it's
it comes
great.
back to
Great
knowledge.
advice.
Educate yourself, but also be careful where you get your education from. Nowadays,
Yes.
of course, everyone is selling something online, or selling a meal plan, or selling a diet, or selling a
Mm.
supplement, or selling something. So just be wary, be mindful of where your education is coming from, and try to get it from a reputable source. Now, there is a lot of good vegan cookery schools online and offline, and keep in touch with me as well. When we have courses coming up, we'll be advertising them as well. So find some reputable mentor that has done it before,
That's a great
and
advice. Great
you can
tip.
get some, authentic advice from them, because there is people selling, keto number 2, I think, is out now. Keto the second, I heard, has come out. So there is a lot of fads out there. There's a lot of fads. So just be very mindful of where you're getting your knowledge from and enjoy the transition. And sorry, what was the first question again? Because there
Oh,
are two big
if
ones.
anybody else is looking at diving deeper into
Yeah,
the culinary world,
yeah,
specifically plant-based, what advice do you have
yeah,
for them if they're wanting to either get
mm,
into retreats or perhaps go to
yeah.
just further their education? What steps should they take or what should they consider?
Yeah, I think we've got there's lots of resources out there like YouTube. There's so many great videos as well of great techniques, and you can learn any technique, any recipe from any cuisine all around the world in your kitchen. You can put your iPad there, you can get the ingredients delivered to your house. So, schedule that time at home. If it does depend on your life situation too, if you have kids and partner and job and you're kind of tied to your location, you'll have to set up your own prep development kitchen at home and plan your days and plan your weeks and structure in some development time to learn about a new ingredient, a new recipe each week. It's not daunting then. Just learn about one new ingredient and add that into your repertoire or a new recipe each week. And then just, carry that on over a period of time. Then that all adds up. You can find some good online resources too. And then if you have the opportunity to travel and if you have the opportunity to take some time out from your work, go work in a restaurant, even for free.
Mm,
I've done that many times. Like if you can do that, work for free or ask them, can you go and do an internship or something like that. And yeah, just get as much experience as you can. Do some 1 day courses or weekend courses or week-long courses if you can. And just go and get knowledge, I think. And yeah, go and learn and explore.
before I let you go, I'm just curious to know, do you have a personal favorite recipe that you make your friends or family come over? What's one that's absolutely, it's always the most cherished or loved recipe? It just goes down really well.
Yeah, what comes to mind is Massaman curry, probably because it's one of my favorites, and probably because it's got potatoes in it as well. And being Irish, we
Nice.
love potatoes. So I cook that a lot of retreats, and it's just a good, comforting dish. And I remember at that retreat in Thailand I went to as well, on the last day of retreat, they served Massaman curry. And just the happiness when you're so hungry and you're served such a nice
That's a good feeling.
vegetarian Massaman curry. It's just so comforting. It's got good spice, it's got some sourness from tamarind, it's got a little bit of sweetness from the coconut milk, it's got creaminess from the coconuts and the potatoes. It's just very comforting.
Okay.
Um,
Good choice.
so I think that's when I cook it for my parents here a lot as well too. So they love it. It's
Oh,
kind of like
yes.
doing a Irish version of it. So it's a little bit Thai, a little bit Irish. Good
Love it.
Irish potatoes and Thai spices. So it's a
Very
nice
good.
combination of the two, and it's just comforting.
Well, thank you so much for today. You've been incredibly generous with your time and your wisdom and your knowledge. And it's very evident that you have just an incredible amount of passion and determination and obviously discipline
Thank
as
you.
well to
Thank
achieve
you.
what you've done. And yeah, I'm just, I'm very thrilled to have you here. To all of our viewers, thank you for joining us today. And until next time, bye for now.